Coming up on today's show, it is horror spooky ooky season, and we're going to be taking you through this month's big releases, including some horror classics back on the big screen.
We'll be letting you know about some classic re-releases we have to celebrate Black History Month.
And do you want to watch some dogs watch the trailer for Paw Patrol? Stick around. To What's On at Cineworld Cinemas. I'm Luke Owen.
And I'm Dan Layton.
And we are here at the O2 Cineworld Cinemas, this wonderful, lovely location for October, for spooky season.
And
Dan.
I'm famously fine with that.
Yeah, you love it.
Yeah,
oh,
I
Dan,
don't have a cry.
We have such sights to show you.
Okay, that sounds good.
Do you want to go get some snacks and we'll head over to the screen and talk about all the scary movies?
Is it safe in there?
Yeah, I mean, Paw Patrol's out.
That's the scariest one.
Come on, it's fine. It'll be fine. Now, Dan, are you sitting comfortably?
I wriggle a lot.
Well, I need you to sit comfortably, Dan, because the first movie we're going to discuss today is The Exorcist.
Yeah, okay, I'm going to need
I'd put
a brace.
I'd put your snacks down, because you might find yourself jumping out of your seat in various different bits of delight and scaredom, because it's Halloween, it's October, it's spooky season month. I have actually dressed appropriately for this.
Oh, it's a reference.
It is a reference to set in the city or town Haddonfield. And the movie came out in 1978.
Fully read that as London Fields, and I thought you were just very excited. I was like,
I just love being in London
there
so
it is,
much.
There it is.
That I love spooky season. Halloween is one of my favourite times of the year, outside of Christmas, of course, because I think Christmas slightly does trump it. But it's because we get movies like this, The Exorcist, a new Exorcist movie.
This one's a really interesting and sort of, I suppose, special one, because in many ways, for many people, it'll be a little pilgrimage.
It's not just spooky season month. There are other things you can check out as well. If you're a Michael Caine fan, the new Michael Caine movie is out. The Great Escaper is also released on the 6th of October.
There you go, little Michael Caine. I only told you to go to the cinema. Does that work?
That's actually pretty good.
Thank you.
I was expecting that when you started it to be absolutely garbage, but it actually turned out all right in the end.
That's the story of my life.
Do you want to try it again?
No, I think, apparently it went well. Quit while you're ahead.
And a movie I know you're quite excited about is, we talked about this last month with the GameStop movie, Dumb Money. This idea of like very recent history becoming cinema.
Yeah.
Blackberry.
Yes, mate. Do you remember when The Founder came out, which was a movie about Michael
McDonald's?
Movie about McDonald's, Michael Keaton. I went to see it kind of on a whim, and I was like, I just love this kind of movie. I love this kind of business biopic thing.
I love the scene in the tennis courts where they're working out the quickest way to do the cooking system. With the brothers. Hoffman.
And anything with like pop culture references, anything with like, and as you say, recent history especially. I remember when The Social Network came out.
Millennial.
I really am. Just the nostalgia cycle, and I need it, and I need it. Basically, I want a film that comes out and says, do you remember yesterday? Did you have a nice time yesterday?
Honestly, that's what this film feels like.
I need a quick turnaround.
I feel like we're still using BlackBerry phones. Do people still use BlackBerry phones?
Oh, no. Well, I mean, some of them do. I suppose there are some, but I don't actually know. I remember, so I'm a big tech of that era person. I have my first ever iPod framed at home.
No way.
Yeah, because I think the iPod's the best thing that's ever been invented. I think it changed the game. From a design standpoint, from a culture standpoint, I think it's amazing.
I've got mine too.
There you go, you see. So I remember BlackBerry, it was the first smartphone. So it sort of changed how people were using and being connected to the world. Like your work was in your pocket. You couldn't just leave it at work anymore. So that's kind of a bit of game-changing tech as well. And yeah, like your Dumb Money, your Social Network, Steve Jobs, all of these movies about recent history, about the world that we are in now, kind of trying to make sense of them, the lessons that we can learn, the story of how it all came to be. I love it all. Big Short's another example.
Air.
Yeah, I loved Air.
Yeah.
I had a great time with Air.
My partner had a BlackBerry.
Yeah.
And when we were first starting to date, she would be texting me at home. And her dad would often complain about the
Because you had a full keyboard.
She had a full keyboard.
And a little rolly ball.
He hated the clicky sound and would often, complained about the clicky sound of her phone. And now he's got a smartphone but hasn't turned off the tones. So whenever he's sending text, guess what? Click, 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 click. And my wife said it was like, oh, how the tides have turned.
There you go.
Because my phone is on silence now.
There it is. So for those of you who like horror movies, you got a bunch to go and see. For those scaredy cats, join me seeing Blackberry.
Or maybe, if you want to wait a week, 13th of October, Paw Patrol.
The meteor's heading straight for us! Get down!
Whoa!
This year,
Giving off some kind of energy pulse.
I think we got superpowers! How about the Paw Patrol? But more! With just a little bit extra.
How about the Mighty Pups? You go up against all of us.
Let's go! Now that we're super, I'm never going to get to...
Ah, you've got to be kidding me.
With the Cineworld family ticket, adults pay kids' prices. Embrace your childish side at Cineworld.
The mighty movie, Paw Patrol, back on our cinema screens.
Which one's your favourite paw?
It's Michael K9.
Is that a real one?
No.
I don't know.
I don't think so. But I've been informed by other parent friends of mine that Paw Patrol is like, that's the one.
I mean, there's a whole bunch of Paw Patrol movies. Like, they seem to be very, very well received. So
We were just walking through the cinema here.
Yeah.
There's loads of posters up for it. And because like this one's got superheroes in it, so you look at it, I was like, wow, that actually looks pretty smart, that. But perhaps that might be slightly too young for you. But you might want to see a grown-ups film.
refined.
A refined, oh, that's a nice way to put it. Yeah, The Miracle Club.
There you go. Laura Linney, you know.
We love Laura Linney.
The story of some people wanting a
True
little...
heartbreak of love, actually.
Oh, I mean, tell me about it. Yeah, fabulous. It's a story of people wanting to go to a little French village they're in Ballygar, and they want to go off to win an escape to the French city of Lourdes. I call this movie a nice little Sunday film. And I know exactly which I know exactly which cinema I go to see these movies. I go to the Cineworld in West India Quay for this kind of film. The thing about London is we have lots of different cinemas, and I have a different type of movie for each one. So I go to Leicester Square for my big action movies. I go to my one in West India Quay for my little drama movies. I come here to the O2 to see a few comedies now and again.
Oh, very nice.
There you go.
That's the beauty of Cineworld in many ways. Also out on the 13th, Some Other Hoods.
Oh, yes.
So when we came into film, a little behind the scenes peek for you, when we came in, camera operator and producer Ellis over there said, have you guys seen that Some Other Hood's coming out?
Yeah. And
Very
we were both
excited.
like, oh, yes. The poster was there. That looks interesting. Full debrief on the movies, Mellis. It was quite fabulous. So it's kidulthood, adulthood. We know those movies, the sort of classic coming of age kind of stories. And Another Hood was a parody, like scary movie style of those, right? And this is what, 13 years? I'm looking off camera to Ellis because I want confirmation. Something like 13 years later, they're making another one, which is kind of the same sort of distance between kidulthood and adulthood, if I'm not wrong. And it's the same team. And like, Ellis and Courtney were having a great time going through this movie. So if you're a fan of Another Hood, great news. There's another one, and you're going to have a fantastic time.
One of the things I think has always been really missing from the horror genre, particularly in the most recent years, are family horror movies.
Right.
I really liked Goosebumps.
Yeah.
The Jack Black movie.
Yeah.
Because like I went to a press screening of that because I'm important.
Of course.
And when I came out of it, I've said to some of my film critic colleagues that that's great. That is a horror movie that a whole family can go and enjoy. And we've got that with Spooky Night, the Spirit of Halloween.
Okay.
Which is this sort of like Halloween store, and 4 kids go to visit it, and they get trapped inside this store.
Classic.
And it is a horror movie that both kids and adults can enjoy. And I don't think we get enough of those these days. In the 80s, they were all over the place. We got them a little bit in the 90s, but I think since the 2000s, horror has very much been, this is for grown-ups.
Well, you've got your sort of grown-up, like really insidious horror movies, and then you've got your teen horror movies where a bunch of teens can go and see it together,
slasher
maybe
film.
on a date night, so that you're hoping that your date like cuddles into you. This one is and talking about horror movies being this kind of like pure cinema experience for like a young family to go and see a movie together, that's a wonderful thing. And it's going to get your kids sort of into coming to the cinema because they get the full experience.
I once went on a date with a girl to a horror movie, Resident Evil, in 2002, and she was scared during the movie, and she was trying to nuzzle into me.
Yeah.
I think she was actually pretending to be scared,
Oh,
so that I would put my arm around her.
And I'm sure you did.
No, I laughed.
And she's here tonight.
We did not have a second date. Still haunts me to this day.
Haunts?
Haunts! Because it's Halloween, it's
There you
horror
go.
and all that. But because it's spooky season, Dan.
Okay.
There's a spooky season, literal spooky season, a Halloween season at Cineworld Cinemas where we're going to re-release some classic horror movies on the big screen.
I love a little rep screening. Let's go. Who we got?
So we're kicking things off on the 9th with the 4K restoration and release of Hellraiser, Clive Barker's Hellraiser.
Wow.
We have such sights to show you. It is an incredible... Have you seen Hellraiser?
No.
Oh, and it's scary.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the pictures of it, and that's scary enough.
Yeah, it's a bit scary.
Yeah.
And I think it's so good. Like, if you are a bit gore adverse, this might not be for you because it's well gory.
Gory.
It's dead gory and a bit scary. But it is so good.
Yeah.
It is incredible. And it's one of my favorite of that style of horror movie. It's probably the pinnacle of it. I could go into lots of details about the rest of the Hellraiser franchise if you'd like me to, but I haven't really got time for that, unfortunately, because on the 13th, on Friday the 13th,
Hello.
you'll never guess what's back in cinemas.
Mamma Mia, here we go again.
Have another go. You're so close.
Gone with the Wind.
It's Friday the 13th.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, I have a tattoo of Friday
You
the
absolutely
13th on my arm.
Would you like to show the people?
This shirt's a bit tight on me.
I see,
I'm
'cause
so
loads of muscles.
muscly,
There you go, there
So
you
I can't really take this shirt off to show off my...
Otherwise, you absolutely would, because it's
Absolutely
something
would.
that you think is super cool and you're proud of it.
Yeah, it is not it is not something I got when I was 18 years old and now looks like a tattoo that an 18-year-old would get in their second week of university.
But the reason you got it is because it's an iconic movie. And if you're a horror fan...
And it's one of my favourite film franchises of all time.
Yeah.
I love the Friday the 13th series. And the original one is an icon of the slasher
Oh,
genre.
yeah.
Like Halloween, you could even argue Psycho is kind of the start of the slasher genre, and then Halloween was kind of like the big, like this is in cinema and this is now a cultural touch point. But Friday the 13th is sort of comes into the landmark movie. But on the 18th, and I'm not messing here when I'm saying this, it might sound like I'm just trying to, hyperbole because I'm presenting
On this
Cineworld
program?
Cinemas on this program.
Never.
My favourite Stephen King adaptation and one of my favourite John Carpenter movies, Christine, is back on the silver screen.
Interesting.
I love Christine. I actually nearly wore my Christine t-shirts for this recording.
You've got so many horror reference t-shirts, you had to choose. You could only choose one.
Well, I bought it when I went to go see John Carpenter in concert a few years back when he was doing his anthology tour, because John Carpenter is one of the not just great directors of all time, he's also one of the great composers.
Right.
Because he composes, pretty much every score for his movies he does himself. And it is a story, it's based on the Stephen King book of the same name.
Yeah.
Story of a boy who buys a second-hand car that he is just drawn to. And this car then starts to consume him and take over him, and it is a haunted, spooky car. And that car then becomes jealous of his friends, any potential romantic partners they would have, because Christine only wants his attention, and he only wants to give his attention to Christine. So Christine then starts to murder his friends or bullies that he has. And it's so good.
Well, I mean, it's John Carpenter and Stephen King as two sort of icons of the genre.
Yeah. Also on the 13th, we have Retribution, but the week after that, Martin Scorsese and Leonardo DiCaprio back together once again.
Cinema. Bit of cinema for you.
So Dan, I've just waxed lyrical about Christine, John Carpenter. Why don't you tell me about this one?
Well, it's Martin Scorsese, right? So it's how many, not to be a bit existential about it, but Martin Scorsese is one of the legends of cinema. It's one of the headline gala films at the London Film Festival. It's something that people are very excited for. The trailers are all over the place. If you've seen, when you went to see Oppenheimer, I'm sure as many of you have, you will have seen the trailer before that. And it's kind of one of those that gets people's attention. It's an epic of the Martin Scorsese milieu, the style that he likes. And Scorsese and DiCaprio are such a perfect. You have those directors and those actors, and that they are great individually and separately, but when they come together, it's magic.
John Carpenter and Kurt Russell.
In many ways, Christopher Nolan and Cillian Murphy. Like when they come together, it's quite a magic thing. That's what you get with Scorsese and DiCaprio. So yeah, very, very excited for this one.
But if that's not your cup of tea,
Your bag.
perhaps you got the kids with you. You want to go see?
Yeah.
You don't even have to have the kids with you. You might just want to go and see the latest adventure for the Trolls.
Yes, the Trolls are back.
Band together.
It's about the troll. It's like a boy band reunion in the Trolls world, which is thrilling. NSYNC are coming back,
Yeah, well,
heard this?
it's the big '90s resurgence.
and Justin Timberlake and Trolls.
He's a big part of that. I know because when I saw Barbie
Yeah.
at Cineworld Cinemas, there was a big thing for Trolls ahead of that, and Timberlake was all over it.
So like it's perfect timing. NSYNC come back. Maybe I don't know which came first, the chicken or the egg. Which came first, the NSYNC reunion and the Trolls movie being about boy bands. I prefer to think that Timberlake was involved in the making of this Trolls boy band reunion movie and went, dirty pop, bye bye bye, girlfriend, classics of the genre. Let's bring them back.
Yeah, I'll pick up the phone and I'll call
Lance Bass
the other three.
and the others.
Yeah.
Yeah. There are 5 members of NSYNC, Luke.
So, okay, the 4 others then.
Go see Trolls boy band movie.
Well, you said this should have been its own Barbenheimer thing.
Oh yeah, like Trollers of the Flower Moon. I want to workshop it. We can all work things together.
Use the comments down below.
I just basically had such a good day with Barbenheimer that I want more of those.
We want a Barbenheimer this. We're going to make the start of this Barbenheimer trend for Killers of the Flower Moon and Trolls band together.
Yeah.
So let us know, what should we call this trend? And also out on the 20th, How to Save the Immortal and It Lives Inside.
Oh God, why
which
does it live inside?
Is an Indian horror movie.
Yeah.
And which I really like. I think over sort of in the sort of Asian territories and stuff, there has been this sort of big explosion of the horror market, particularly out places like South Korea and stuff. But the Indian film market is a really burgeoning and brilliant place that's now finally getting its like a spotlight shown on it here in the West.
I mean, so they've always been in the box office top 10s of the week. There's always been Indian and Bollywood movies, and so I think what's brilliant about there being more is that more people are getting the opportunity to go and see something that might not necessarily have clicked with them as like, this is your option for the horror week.
Yeah.
The
week after that, on the 27th, we have Cat Person and a movie that I am very, very excited about. It opens on the 25th, Five Nights at Freddys. Now, Dan, I'm sure you do know this about me, but I like a video game movie.
I have heard you talk about it once or twice.
Yeah. It often comes up in conversations. I did once write a book about the whole thing.
Yeah. That would indicate that you've got an interest.
I love video games. So there's your John Carpenter. And I love movies. There's your Kurt Russell. And I'm going to put those together. And I get Five Nights at Freddy's.
Lovely.
Which is a spooky movie. It is basically about, like we don't have this here so much in the UK, but like Chuck E. Cheese.
Yes, yeah, one of those. Like Captain Coconuts.
Yeah, you go to a place, it's a pizza place.
Yeah.
And then there's like animatronic, mascots and stuff. So what if you went to one of those, but the animatronic mascots were trying to murder you?
I'm all right.
You all right? You're right?
I don't want to do that.
So you want to go? So you're all right and you want to go?
I would use the deep pan pizza, which, as we all know, is hotter than the surface of the sun, throw it at them and hope they melt. That's what I would do. That's my game plan.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll try that the next time we do go to Freddys.
Which we often do.
We're always going.
Yeah.
But this is a movie that's been in development for a long time because the game series has been out for years, decades at this point. And they've been trying to do a movie version of Five Nights at Freddy's for a long time. Gil Kennan, who is the writer who was the writer of Ghostbusters Afterlife, and he's now the director of Ghostbusters Afterlife sequel, he was attached to this at one point, and he was doing a big development process on this. It's gone through various different hands, various different writers, various different directors, but now finally it's here. And it was one of those things, we talked about this with Gran Turismo, or even Uncharted, where the movie's been in development for so long, even though they kept telling me it had a release date, I was like, I don't believe you. And now here I am, and it's only like 28 days later.
Yeah. Hello.
And it's finally actually here.
When these movies find their rhythm, the audience is there and the audience wants them. So this is that. You're welcome. You can have it.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. Plus, we have some event cinema. On Thursday the 5th, we have the 2023 Royal Opera Live's L'Elysée.
And on Sunday the 8th, A Little Life. Can you believe this? It is the 10th anniversary of Gravity, and we are having IMAX previews of that on Thursday the 19th. Has it really been 10 years
It
since
really
Gravity?
has. Yeah,
that seems
Gravity,
nuts to me.
Wolf of Wall Street, all that era, 10 years ago.
That seems so nuts. Because I went to the press screening of Gravity, and I said when I got home, my partner said, like, what was it like? Because at one point I stopped, like, breathing.
Yeah. 100%.
Because I realized that I had stopped breathing because Sandra Bullock had stopped breathing.
Yeah.
And I was waiting for her to take her next breath.
Yeah.
And IMAX is the way to see this movie as well.
So when I saw it, I was in, I remember seeing it at the cinema quite late in its run because it was one of the ones I was ticking off my list to make sure I'd seen it before the Oscars that year. And I was so gripped on it that I remember physically clutching my face. And as it finished, I couldn't move from my chair. I just stayed and watched every credit go. The lights came back on, the music started again to be like, time to go home now, Dan. And I thought to myself, I'm never going to see that movie again, because that for me was such a go to the cinema experience. That in its giant screen, it's so immersive. It was such an intense experience that can't be replicated outside of the cinema.
It can't.
And now they're bringing it back so that I can have the experience again. I can see this movie again. It was magic. It was such an amazing film. And you know how I feel about IMAX, Luke.
I know. And if you've not seen it, I would heartily recommend go out of your way to see this, because it is, particularly on the IMAX, this is the best way to experience this movie.
I'm really glad.
And the Disney 100 season is still in full effect, and on Saturday the 7th and on Sunday the 8th, you can get yourselves down to your local Cineworld cinemas to re-watch The Princess and the Frog.
And the very next weekend, the 14th and 15th, get ready to let it go. We're bringing you Frozen.
It is also Black History Month, and on the 17th of October, you can re-watch the absolute classic Boys in the Hood.
On the 10th, we have yet another classic, Do the Right Thing.
And on the 24th, a recent classic. You want to talk about some recent history up on the big screen, Straight Outta Compton, the movie about NWA. But I'm afraid that's all we've got time for on this edition of What's On at Cineworld Cinemas. We must now leave this scary, spooky place. Although this is actually a lovely place.
This place is the scary was in there. This is fine.
Yeah, we're safe out
Although
here.
sometimes they put the things on the screen. The nun was on the screen earlier on. I didn't have a very nice time.
Yeah,
If you
that's
like this sort of thing, you can find us wherever you get your podcast from. Good, bad, and ugly ones. There's more of it in the audio realm.
I'm sure November will be a much safer time for Dan Layton. But until then, I've been Luke Owen.
And I'm afraid. Just afraid. Be very afraid.
And that's What's On.